So good evening again, everyone, and thank you for joining us in what we think will be a very exciting and interactive and informative session this afternoon. My name is Luana. I'm the district trainer, as you all know, and I have as part of our team this afternoon, Past President Cheryl, who's on the training committee, along with Past President Lisa, and we have Past President Natalie and Mavis and Vicky. They're all part of the training team. So welcome again. If we can go through the protocols very quickly, no different from the previous sessions. For those preferring to listen and participate in French, please select the interpretation tab at the bottom of your screen. Please keep your cameras on. It just makes for better interaction, especially when we get to the Q&A segment. We will keep all participants muted for now until we get to the Q&A, but if you want to ask a question during the presentation, just raise your hand and we will be happy to unmute you. You can put your questions in the chat, or as I just said, you can ask your questions live. Please ensure your Zoom name is your actual name so that you can be easily identified during the Q&A. That's all for the protocols. I would like to welcome at this time our facilitator for this afternoon. She's here with us for the second time, Joy Adamson. You will hear all about her in a few minutes, but I would like to personally welcome Joy to this afternoon session for agreeing to facilitate, because it was just a month ago that we had her and it was such an unforgettable session that I got many requests for a repeat. So this is the repeat and I know she will not disappoint. Now, this afternoon session will be on impromptu speaking. And if, like me, many of you would have gone to functions and thought you were there for the food and drinks, and then you heard your name being screamed from the podium to come up and give remarks, you know how uncomfortable that can be. You will shake in places you didn't know you could shake, if that ever happened to you. But it did happen to me several times. And so I am very happy to be here this afternoon to learn from what Joy has to share with us. So without further ado, I would like to ask Past President Cheryl to read Joy's bio quickly so we can learn more about her, and then we will go straight into the presentation. PP Cheryl.
Thank you, PAG Luana, District Trainer. Good evening once again, everyone. Mrs. Joy Adamson has been in education for the past 34 years. She's a trained teacher who spent 13 years as a teacher of science and biology at secondary schools in Barbados. During her teaching career, she has served as teacher, deputy principal, and principal. For the last 21 years, she has worked at the Ministry of Education in Barbados, moving up from the ranks from education officer to senior education officer to deputy chief education officer. She has also acted as Chief Education Officer from October 2019 to August 2021. She is currently the Deputy Chief Education Officer with responsible for schools and student support services in Barbados. Mrs. Adamson has an Executive Master's in Business Administration, a distinction no less. She is a certified facilitator for the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator and has served as course developer for UWI Open Campus Master's Program in Managing Educational Policy as School Leaders. She has also served as a facilitator at the Cave Hill School of Business, University of the West Indies, in Human Resource Management and at Train the Trainer workshops. Mrs. Adamson has a passion for public speaking and is a distinguished Toastmaster who has served as District Governor for the Caribbean District 81 of Toastmasters. She has held several leadership positions in the Toastmasters organization, rising to District Governor in 2009 to 2010. During her Toastmasters journey, she has made several presentations at Toastmasters conferences and to Toastmasters clubs across the Caribbean. DTM Adamson has also been a presenter in the art of public speaking for several organizations in Barbados. She has also served as evening tutor at the Art of Public Speaking at the Erdiston Teachers Training College in Barbados. Her mantra is found within Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Let us give a hearty welcome back to Mrs. Joy Adamson. Joy, welcome back.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and good evening to all. District Trainer Luana, past presidents, training team of Rotary Caribbean, Rotarians, Rotaractors, Interactors, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to be here with you again. And Luana said it's a month ago that you invited me, and I was surprised that she wanted to be back so soon. But it is a pleasure to be here to spend this time, at least this hour or so, with you as you go through your training. And it is important that we do focus on things such as public speaking. Now, this evening, I'm going to be speaking to you about impromptu speaking. And Rotarian Luana talked about when you go to a function and they then call your name for you to speak, or you are at a forum, or you are at work, or you are at church. I know we have interactors. You are at school, at your school function. And what is more challenging than giving a speech is giving a speech without preparation. And that is why I'm going to be sharing some tips with you this evening about speaking impromptu, speaking on the cuff, without preparation. But before I do that, I wanted to ask in the chat, I need to be able to see the chat while I am also here, which is also a challenge when you're presenting. But how many persons, Luana spoke about it, how many persons have had to speak impromptu without any sort of preparation in this group? If you have, you can just put your hands up. Okay, so I see that mic in front of you who would want to comment after a Rotarian event. And what they want is to gain your respect. So you must first be listening. So don't get caught with your pants down at that function and all of a sudden you heard, Luana Falcano, can you say, I hope you pronounce your last name correct. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me pick another name. Cheryl Ann Jordan. And all of a sudden, Cheryl Ann, wake up. Okay, what they're saying, what they asked me, I'm sorry, repeat that. So when you're in any function, first rule, you must be listening, just in case you're called upon. You must then pause. Think before you engage your tongue. Engage that brain before you engage the tongue. Coca-Cola some years ago had a slogan that says, the pause that refreshes. And therefore, any pause will also refresh. You're thinking about what you're going to be saying. So for those few seconds, think back now on what was asked. Therefore, we talked about look before you leap. With impromptu speaking, I want you to pause before you speak. So think about it. Listen, then pause. Then you're going to do one of the tricks that if you've been watching any of the panel discussions, any of the press conferences, in every territory now we have in press conferences about COVID and COVID cases and vaccinations, you're going to repeat that question. And that is one way of putting your brain into action. You're confirming. Let me understand what you're asking. Are you asking me to do this? Repeat the question. And it is a delay tactic, yes. You're delaying while you're formalizing in your head what it is that you're going to be saying. So listen, pause, confirm. Only then you start to speak. Tell them what it is, your opinion. Tell them how you feel about it. Tell them the process that they need to go through. So this is the part now where you're presenting your gift, where you have that language. Dazzle them. Remain focused on what the question was and simply answer the question. Now, when you're given an impromptu response, we don't expect you to speak for 15 minutes because that sounds like a prepared speech. So you just focus on what it is that they're asking. And Rotarians, Rotaractors, Interactors, ladies and gentlemen, you must know when to end, when to stop speaking. There are some people who just like to go on and on and on, and you turn off. You've been asked a question, you've been asked an opinion, you've been asked to state a process, you need therefore also to end. So you're ending, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then you stop. I want you, while you're telling them, to smile and look like you're really engaged and you really know what you're talking about. So you must learn how to stand up and speak, or nowadays you might be in a Zoom meeting, or a Teams meeting, how to sit, how to tell them and speak up. So you stand up, you speak up, and then you shut up. So you got to know for the impromptu, you are actually going to listen. You're going to have that pause for refresher. You're going to confirm what it is that they're asking you. Tell them what they want to hear or what your opinion is, and then you can end. So remember, pause before you speak. Dazzle them with what you're saying. Sit up or stand up. Speak up, and then shut up. What I'm going to share with you now, the crux, this is my fill-in. 6 outlines for impromptu speaking. You have that question. I've told you the techniques that you're going to use before you engage. Now we're going to the part about telling them. What are you going to be saying? How that light switch that's going to come on to allow you to speak. The first line can be to give an opinion. Give an opinion and justify it. So you have an opinion, for instance, I believe that persons should not abuse disabled parking. Lisa, I will call on you to speak about that. So Foster is here. I believe that persons should not abuse disabled parking. Lisa, are you ready?
Good evening. Reconfirming that I need to share on why I believe persons should not misuse disabled parking.
Correct.
You as an individual who is more abled should be considerate of others who are not as mobile-bodied as yourself. In that way, you should not misuse, abuse, not only parking, but any form that will cause any injustice to someone else in general. In other words, you should always be thinking about equitable sharing to everyone. Thank you.
Very good. She reaffirmed and she confirmed the question. We heard that pause. Now, don't make the pause too long, but we heard that pause. It was just right. And then she stated her opinion. Very good. State a problem and show its causes. There is an upsurge in gun violence throughout the Caribbean. There are a number of reasons for this. And we have Grace responding to this. There's an upsurge in gun violence throughout the Caribbean. There are a number of reasons for this. Grace McCalman, can we unmute her? Can she be unmuted?
I'm trying to unmute her. Lisa, you want to help me, please? Good.
Okay, there we go. Want me to repeat?
I'm completely frozen.
You mean, is this the camera that's freezing you?
No, it's the moment I heard my name being confirmed, my heart rate went up and I'm already in shambles. Yes,
Start.
I'm your worst subject.
Start speaking.
Can you
There's
repeat?
okay, very good. There's an upsurge in gun-related crimes in the Caribbean. There are a number of reasons for this. Can you share? Just pause real long.
I'm too nervous.
You're too nervous?
Yes.
Is there anybody who would be willing, if you have a hands up? I can't see everybody, so Luana, I don't see any hands yet. Come on. No, last time we did a presentation, we didn't have this experience, but I would want you to jump in because this is the only way you're going to get better. All right, let me pick on Luana then.
There is a Cheryl down.
Okay, Cheryl, yes. York, you have the floor, if you can be unmuted. Have a problem, state its causes and say why you think there's an upsurge in gun violence in the Caribbean at this time. I'm not seeing Cheryl.
I'm not seeing her entire name, but it's Cheryl Dangle something. Cheryl
York.
Dangle Beck York. Yes, Cheryl York.
All right, I will let Cheryl think about that because we don't want to do.
She's muted. I don't know if the facilitator could unmute her.
Grace, I'm coming back for you, you know. You're not getting away. Okay, all right, let's move on because at the end, I want, Luana, this is the approach that I'm having. I believe that for something in terms of public speaking, the only way that we can get better is if we practice and we help each other to improve on it. So once you have a problem, okay, Roma Nagasar also has her hand raised.
I'd like to try.
Okay, fantastic. Go on.
Okay, so I'd like to confirm the question again, please.
Right. There is a surge in gun-related crimes in the Caribbean. There are a number of reasons for this. Can you explain?
So in the Caribbean, there is an upsurge of gun violence because of the increase in drug trafficking from Latin America. Also, there are a lot of unemployment in different countries. And because of this unemployment and the drug trafficking, this has caused for the upsurge in crime. I believe that with better policy from the government and improved control on this on the access to guns, that this will help curb this problem in the Caribbean.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. We heard that pause. You had a time to think about it. We had the response. And then at the end, it was call to action, things that we need to do. So very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Third outline. You can offer a viewpoint and then elaborate on that viewpoint. So it could be your viewpoint or it could be a viewpoint shared by some other individual or person or your company. So we have everybody has a viewpoint on some topic, and some of you feel strongly about certain things. So for instance, you are doing training here now for the Rotarians, and it is across from the interactors right up to senior Rotarians. In your opinion, and the question is, do you believe that this training is helping you in your everyday life? Or do you believe there are other areas that you have to look at? I'm sure all of you in this group will have a viewpoint on that. And Luana, for sure, that will help her in her plan. Oh, we have Cheryl. Oh, Cheryl is a different Cheryl. Cheryl York now has her hand up. Can we unmute Cheryl? Who wants to take that?
I'm unmuted.
Fantastic. Go ahead.
I personally believe that this training that is happening this evening is definitely something that helps me to elevate myself in my personal life. You see, public speaking is something not only when we have to give a presentation, it is something when your boss calls on you and say, hey, can you explain this to the customer? You have to be able to think on your feet and say what they need to hear, what you need to say to bring your company forward. So definitely, I believe that this training that we're getting here in public speaking, and especially impromptu speaking, is something that we definitely need. We can use it in our relationships. We can use it on the job. We can use it just about anywhere. So definitely, how would you say? I definitely think this is something that should happen and should happen often. And definitely every person in this room will benefit from this training this afternoon.
Very good. Very good. I'm enjoying the approach you are using, these tips that I would have given before, repeating the question, pausing, saying, and then concluding. And we heard the introduction, we heard the body, and we heard the conclusion. Very good, Cheryl. So these are 3 of the 6 outlines. You give an opinion, and then you justify it. You state a problem, you show its causes. You offer a viewpoint and you elaborate on that viewpoint. And in each of these outlines, you are still having an opening, a body, a conclusion. Number 4, state a goal that you have or a problem that you have and give ways to solve it. So your church is looking to purchase an organ and you have to do some fundraising. So your goal is to raise $100,000, that's Barbadian. Let me say 100,000 US dollars. Everybody can relate to that. 100,000 US dollars for this organ. How will you go about it? So you are at the church council meeting and you are the treasurer and you're putting forward different ideas, and the treasurer, not you, the treasurer has spoken out to the entire group present, say, well, I want to hear some ideas on how we can raise this $100,000. Do we have any takers? Come on, don't let me beg. Veronica D'Souza Phillip, you want to give it a try?
Sure. Okay, can you please repeat?
So you are at church meeting and the treasurer has identified that the church needs 100,000 US dollars for a new organ. And you have raised your hand and you're willing to contribute. Let me hear what you'll be saying.
Okay. Okay, so okay, can you just repeat it one more time for me, please? Because I was a little distracted.
Okay. You are a church meeting. The
Mhm.
treasurer has indicated that the church needs a new organ, but it's going to cost $100,000 US. He's therefore asking for ideas from the group on ways to raise this money. You have raised your hand for suggestion.
Okay. First of all, having a new organ for the church is a good thing, and I support this 100%. I believe we can engage in some simple fundraising to assist us with this. We can also call on the membership of the church to donate maybe a $50 or maybe a $20. So we have two ways. One, we can call on the membership to donate, and we can also engage in cake sale. We can engage in raffles to assist us in raising the money for the organ. Now, we can also, finally, we can also go to the business community asking for donations. With these various mediums of raising funds, I do believe we should acquire the $100,000 US, $100,000 US for the organ. I am going to propose that I meet with the treasurer and flesh out my ideas further so that we can have a great fundraising event. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. So you see, that's impromptu, off the cuff, what we might call in Toastmasters. That was a really good table topic, because I give you a topic and you just spoke on it, and you actually had some very good ideas. You organized your thoughts, you spoke, and then you concluded. Very good. All right, simple one. Describe a process. And I think that you are in a group and you want to form a new interactors club at a school. What is the process in going about doing that? I don't know, so I'm asking and I'm throwing out now to the members of the, let me get the Rotarians, any Rotarian in the group. How do I go about forming a new interactors club? Man, the hand should be raising, going up really, really quick. What's the problem? No takers? And call a Rotarian for me, because I don't know who's Rotarian from who is Rotaractor.
Let me call a Rotarian for you, Joy. I will call Dominique Cameron.
Dominique, the floor is yours. She unmuted?
Hello, good night. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, so how to start in a Rotaractors Club or Interactors Club?
Interactors Club. How
to start an Interactors Club? Well, that one I won't be able to answer, and I'm a bit clueless on that part here. All right, firstly, what I would do is I would go to my board of directors and I would find out from them exactly what I need to do to start the Interactors Club. I would already have persons lined up who are interested in becoming interactors, and then I present it to my board and I would formulate the plans so that we can start a club, the Interactors Club.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, 2 tips I will give you there, Dominique. If you are not too sure in terms of the answer and you started to say, which would be, I don't have all the information in starting the Interactors Club, but I would direct it to my board. You can also deflect. If somebody asks you a question like that off the cuff and you don't have all the facts, you can also refer it to somebody else, because then you won't want to give the wrong process for forming the Interactors Club. So the attempt was good, but I'm also speaking to the group here. If you're asked a question and you don't have all of the information, you can deflect. You don't necessarily have to attempt to answer, because then you might also give wrong information. So the information, so what Dominique would have done is I refer it to my board. But if I now want to push a little further, I am not too sure if Miss Ward hand was up. I saw her, and I don't know if that was that. She was just Kimura. She jumped her name. Okay, so I just wanted to find out in terms of what's the age, is it at a school, can it be private, so we can actually plot a little bit more. So that is describing a process. The tip that also came out here is that if you're asked a question or you're approached on a particular topic and you don't have all the information, you can direct the person asking you to somebody or a group that would also assist. So you can describe a process. That's very simple. Oh, in Barbados now, we're coming up to independence on the 30th of November. And in the month of November, we tend to make a delicacy called conkeys. How do you make conkeys? That is a process. How do you make sweet bread? That is a process. In Trinidad, you might have pastels. How do you make pastels? So you can describe a process, very simple. And once you have that information, that is also an impromptu speech. And finally, the sixth outline that we're sharing is to break down.
Joy, 1 second before you go on. I think we have a question in the chat in French. Natalie, could you clarify? Natalie, Mavis, or Vicky?
Mavis will try to do it.
Okay.
There are two questions I see, one in bold and another one. I don't know what it says.
Yeah, so we're waiting on them to translate it for us.
Oh, okay.
Mavis, are you there? Okay, let's go on, Joy. We can come back to it at the end.
Okay, all right. They break down a situation or a problem into components and discuss each. So if you're talking about, and again, I'm sticking with Rotary because I think most of you would understand, who are the members of the executive on a Rotary? Who are the executive members in a Rotary club and what are their functions? That could be you're breaking down a situation, you're breaking down a process. You can have, in education, we have several stakeholders. In your opinion, what is the role of each of these stakeholders? And are they important? So I'm dealing with a school. Can you share with me why it is not only the principal of a school that runs the school, but everybody has to play a part? So that is one way of breaking down a situation into different components. So you're talking about the respective stakeholders and you're sharing their contribution. You have the executive, you're talking about the executive and you're stating how they're all contributing. So you can have one situation and you break it into parts, okay? So just to recap in terms of what we have said in terms of the outlines, slide before, back. Fine. Oh, this isn't working the same way like how, okay. Do that then. So the outlines in giving an impromptu speech, you give an opinion and you justify it. You state a problem and you show its causes. You offer a viewpoint and then you elaborate. You state a goal or a problem and you give ways to solve it. Describe a process, or you break down a situation or a problem into separate components and you discuss each. All right. Now, There are certain things I do not want you to do in speaking impromptu. Do not apologize. So if you do not know the answer, you give a response. If you cannot answer the question, you give a response, but I'm sorry, I don't know, full stop. So you can say that I'm not familiar with that topic, but I can either get back to you or I can direct you to an individual who might be able to advise you. Do not ramble, not go on and on and on and on, repeat yourself constantly and not getting to the point, because then you will lose the person who's asked you the question. And finally, not make things up, not invent things if you do not know, because you will not be trusted, you will not be sincere, and they will never come back and ask you a question again. So if you don't know, do not invent. You state, I am not familiar, I do not know. So do not apologize, do not ramble, and do not invent. We've had some practice before, but I want to give some easier questions than those now. And in Toastmasters, in every meeting, we have a section called Table Topics. And here now, we're going to have some table topics. I have 6 short, simple questions. And based on the outlines that I would have just shared, I just want persons to volunteer before they actually hear the question and speak on it. You are not going to be this shaky individual here. You are going to be very confident. You're going to sit up, speak up, and then shut up. Just for about 1 minute, you can speak. I want a cross-section of individuals, and I would like persons to volunteer. We have about 5 minutes, Luana, before I have some question and answers after.
Yep.
Fantastic. Donette Constance has volunteered. Donette, choose a number between 1 and 5.
4.
4. I'm sorry that Sandra isn't here. I had this one especially for her to hear. But if you could be district governor for 1 month, what would you do? If you could be district governor for 1 month, what would you do?
Can you repeat that, please?
Okay, can we have her spotlight so that everybody can see her? If you could be district governor for 1 month, what would you do and why, I should say?
If I will be district governor for 1 month, there are 2 things I will focus on. Diabetes in young children and ensuring that the community that we serve have a better understanding of what Rotary is all about. The reason why I chose these 2 areas of focus, because diabetes seems to be considered a death sentence. And if we start with our young children in the schools, educating them on diabetes, what causes diabetes, I believe that is a great foundation that you'll have children being healthier adults. And of course, we will take away the stigma of diabetes in our community. Second, the reason why I selected ensuring that the community have a better understanding of Rotary is simply because we are the forerunner when it comes to serving our community. And I believe we do a lot in the community. However, most do not know what Rotary is all about. So I think I will use a virtual forum, have town hall meetings to educate the community on what Rotary is all about and the work that we do. In so doing, that will generate new clubs, interactors, Rotaractors, and of course, Rotary. So that's the two reasons, that's the two things I will focus on if I am district governor for 1 month, Madam Chair.
Fantastic. Very good. We had an opening. We had the 2 points supported with evidence of why. And as a diabetic, I applaud you for that. And then you concluded. So very good. All right. Here we have, I saw another hand up. Sorry. We saw another hand up. Can we spotlight the next person who's volunteering to give a speech, take a table topic?
We have Donette Constance.
We just had her.
Oh, the hand is still up.
Oh, okay. We have Kimora Ward.
Kimora Ward, yes. Donette, please take your hand down.
Kimora.
Good evening, everyone. Yes.
Good evening.
Hi.
Can you pick a number, 1, 2, 3, or 5?
2.
2. Number
Yes.
2. If I had to change my career, I would be. If I had to change my career, I would be.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, I would just like to confirm that I am to speak on if I had to change my career, I would be.
Correct.
Okay. If I had to change my career, I would be a writer/poet, simply because this is my interest. I love writing. I self-published a poetry book last year, 2020, while I was in lockdown in Montserrat. And this was such a refresher for me, a refreshing experience for me. And I realized in those moments while I was writing my poems that I can monetize this talent that I have. And what I would say about my experience is that it gave me creativity. It allowed me to showcase my talent. And I am so pleased with the fact that I got downloads so easily. When I went to bed, I would wake up and write, jump out of bed, write down little poems and whole poems in a matter of minutes. So in my estimation, I am talented in this regard. And that is why if I were to change my career, I will become, or I would strive to become a poet or a writer. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Thank you. And that was fantastic. And I'd like to see some of those poems.
Yes, ma'am. It's on Amazon, Inner Reflections by Kimora Ward, Thoughts That Came From Within. So you can purchase, everyone here can go on Amazon and purchase.
I got buy it.
Because let me tell you, I am so pleased to have this interaction here with you tonight, because I actually watched the recording with you the other day.
Yeah.
And I am pleased to have met somebody that close to Rihanna. So
I thought it was something else.
No, but I love you as a person. You're well spoken. Obviously, you're a Toastmaster. So thank you so much for what you're doing here tonight. And yes, I'll give somebody else a chance now to speak.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And that was a very good impromptu speech. I have time for one more. Do we have any other volunteers? Come on, one more. Don't all be shy. No other volunteers? Yes.
Let's pick one and let's pick a guy because it's been.
Oh, that's true. Yes, I haven't heard any males tonight. Yeah.
Okay, so let me go with Delroy Carrington.
Delroy. Delroy, you have to pick between 1, 3, or 5.
I'll take 1.
Number 1. easy one for you, Delroy. The most memorable advice I ever got. The most memorable advice I ever got.
Madam Chair, may I just get that one more time?
The most memorable advice I ever got.
Good evening to you, Madam Facilitator. Good evening, all present here this evening. I reflect on the most memorable advice I've ever got. And I remember that vividly. I remember that advice coming from my grandmother, who told me, so in life, to succeed, you must work diligently and also uphold integrity. And why is that so memorable for me now? I remember that so well because of my fondness to my grandmother, but also when I reflect on where I am now and some of the relative success in which I've achieved, I upheld those advice and I can see them bearing fruit. So throughout my life, I think that would be my most memorable advice, and I will pass that on to my children. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Fantastic. Very good advice from that grandmother as well. To succeed in life, work diligently and with integrity. To succeed at impromptu speaking, you got to practice. You got to practice. You got to practice. I want to thank all of my speakers, those who would have participated earlier and those who participated in the table topics. And to the others who didn't put up their hand. Kimura, your hand is still raised? Or is this a question?
No, I just wanted to fulfill your request. If I may, I just want to read a short poem because they're very short. So I would just like to read one for you. Is that okay?
Okay, all right.
Okay, it's called Speak Your Truth. We must all speak our truth. No matter what, speak your truth. Who are you hurting? Bottling up your feelings inside. You are doing a disservice to the spirit which abides within you. Too often do we let our ego shout and exclaim for us to remain quiet, or it would say, let them have their way. It is time to take a stance, take a chance, and speak your truth. That's it. So.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic.
Yes, so that was just a little piece for you, and I did it especially for you because it just came to mind that I should speak one for you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. The Lord is guiding you. Thank you. So we have to practice, Rotarians, if we want to improve on our public speaking. Remember, we started with some ones and twos. We still have some shy ones. But we have more ones in this group now than we did when we started. I would hope so. And since we can always go back and look back, you might not be told, you might be a 1.5 in that you will still want to push it away, but I will give it a chance. Do we have more ones now? I wouldn't do the survey as it was, but I would hope that we do have more ones than we do have twos. And I hope that the tips that I would have shared in giving an impromptu speech will be used. I know that you would have a copy of this that you can look back at and you can review. But the next time that that mic is placed in front of you, I implore you, do not push it away. You can do it. Because I know that my one-on-one speaking impromptu session would have prepared you to speak impromptu. Madam Chair, I am now open for any questions.
Thank you so much, Joy. Are there any more questions before we wrap up?
I can't be that good.
I have a
Madam-
question. Sorry. And my hand is still up. Sorry, I have a question. You know, at the beginning, you had said that if you were to have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion, and that you were to confirm whether or not the question that you're being asked is correct. So is it all the time that you have to confirm? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, not all the time, but it would help you to, as I said, that's a kind of a delay tactic that some people actually use, but depend on the circumstance. So you've been asked a question or you've been asked to speak on something. Remember, it's impromptu. So did I hear you correctly? You want me to, so it is, in my opinion, a good approach. As you said, not all situations might lend itself to actually confirming, but it is something that I would advise you to do if you can do it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions? We'll take one more because Joy has another meeting at 8. No?
No?
All right, well, thank you all for coming. I will now ask Past President Lisa to deliver the vote of thanks. And apologies if you're not seeing me, my computer froze, so I have to switch to my phone. So if you're not seeing me, my apologies. Lisa?
Ms. Adamson, District Trainer Luana, Rotarians and guests, good evening again. As an early disclaimer, like District Luana indicated earlier, impromptu speaking was never a favorite topic of mine. And truth be told, it will be a continuous work in progress. So thankfully, a vote of thanks does not fall under the category as you had mentioned in your previous discourse. One should always be prepared. Yes, Joy, we were listening. My participation in the session tonight was to better understand how to reduce my level of nerves that arise when I'm asked to speak off the cuff. It becomes more challenging also when you have little knowledge of the topic. Joy, thank you. You did not disappoint. From the questions and sometimes silence from the group, it's clear that you've given us all a new perspective and maybe some confidence in stepping up to that podium at the very last minute and to deliver inspiring remarks. I'll remember to listen, pause, confirm, speak to the point, and close. I won't be apologizing, and I'll definitely be redirecting and trying not to ramble and not inventing anything that I'm unsure of. Ms. Adamson, I do not think this district can say thank you enough. And we do look forward to more interactions with you. And I'm confident we will all have a chance to practice. District Trainer Luana and your team, thank you for your continued guidance. To those who work silently in the background, Sean, thank you for your continued support. Have a good evening, everyone. And I do look forward to the next session. And I'm sure my puppies who are making a lot of noise in the background are also looking forward to more fellowship with us. Good evening.
Good evening, all. Thank you.
And Joy, again, I bring you, before we close, I bring you greetings from District Governor Sonia, who has club meetings going on this afternoon and regrettably could not be here. But I'm sure she will be looking at the recording later on. And I have to give her a full report when we're done here. So thank you so much. And thanks to everyone for coming, and stay tuned for the next training session from the district. which will be around early December. So have a good night. Please continue to stay safe and take care. Bye.
Thank you.